In the 1990s, Evgeny Primakov had mooted the idea of a Russia, India, China triangle to counter the growing hegemonism of the United States of America. That means 1990 was a unipolar. This was the time when America had become the sole superpower with the demise of the Soviet Union. Soviet Union had splintered, as we all know, into 15 unit states without a short range fire. It was even at that nadir despair that Primakov had proposed a Russia-India triangle, China triangle, or the hegemony of the United States, unchanneled heading. The world has since, transited from a unipolar to a multipolar world order. And now the entire correlation of forces is very different and is evolving and changing very fast. When Donald Trump was fighting his election campaign, he was making all the right choices. You know, Joe Biden had pivoted from Asia back to Europe. Joe Biden felt that not China but Russia was the primary antagonist, primary enemy, primary threat, competition, etc. And he was keen to dismantle Russia, even as Ronald Reagan had dismantled the Soviet Union, the former Soviet Union. Donald Trump, as I said, was saying all the right things. He said he wanted to pivot back from Europe back to Asia. That he felt that it was not Russia but China that was the primary threat, the prime adversary, the main challenge, the main competition. So many previous presidents had all, taken part in the pivot back to Asia. It is Joe Biden who had turned it around. And Donald Trump was very clear that the war with Russia was Joe Biden's war. It was not his war, and it would never have happened had he remained the president of the United States. He wanted better relations with Russia so that he could deal with hostile, ever-growing threat from the People's Republic of China. Like I said, all this made evident geopolitical sense. In reiterating these geopolitical factors of congruence between India and the United States, we were, following the bipartisan consensus between Republicans and Democrats that had held for about 14 years. That if China is the main threat, the United States leads India and Japan in Asia to counterbalance the power of a growing China. India was a key swing state that would alter the overall global power balance. Therefore, all the right noises were made. 30 years of effort was expended in trying to repair Indian-American relations, in trying to cash in on shared values, that trying to cash in on the very excellent people-to-people relationship. When Indian prime ministers went to the United States, the succession of US presidents told us that this was the defining partnership of the 21st century. With India, the United States together, would usher in possibly a new global order, or at the very least, they would counter the hegemonism of China. That was the prime rationale for the Quad. The quadrilateral of democracies, the United States, Japan, India, Australia. A grouping that was designed to balance the power of an increasingly aggressive and hostile China. That was when India had a bucket of cold water thrown in our face. 3 decades of effort. 3 decades of effort to restore India-United States relations from the frost of the Cold War period era have all gone to waste, have been, done to naught. And the pity is that people in India were so happy when Donald Trump won the election because we thought that he was making the right geopolitical noises, that his geopolitical grand strategic vision was quite, sensible and very mature and balanced. That is what people thought. Donald Trump wanted to end the forever wars that the United States had been dragged into by the previous regime. Donald Trump was very keen for a period of peace and quiet to end all wars so that he could restructure the United States economy, so that he could, regrow the power of the US military, create the golden shield, etc., and tackle the deep state, which he felt was taking America from one war to the next, to the next, to the next. Excellent prognosis. Unfortunately, when his term started, within 6 months, Donald Trump had strayed into a minefield of trade and tariffs, in which it was the United States versus the rest of the world, and the United States particularly piled on all its allies, whether in Europe, whether in Japan, whether in South Korea. Some people just caved in. Europe just caved in, right? Europe just caved in. Japan and Korea, I think perhaps they decided it is better to humor this back. After all, he is here only for 3 years. When the next one comes, the normal, rational way of working would reassert itself between nations. Geopolitics is the key to international relations. Here, Donald Trump had turned everything on its head on trades and tariffs and to hell with the long-term geostrategic perspectives. India, everybody thought in India that we had given very reasonable, trade terms for a trade treaty with the United States. But when Europe caved in, when Japan caved in, when South Korea caved in, Donald Trump said, "What the hell?" And these people have caved in, slavishly, they are bending at the knee. What the hell can India do? And therefore, he decided to pile on to India. But is that the sole reason for piling onto India? Is it all trades and tariffs? Is it all the 50%? Why has the 50% tariffs been imposed in India? It's all because of the trade war? I'm sorry. But no problem. I think we have to look deeper into the target lists of Operation Sindoor for cogent answers. Now, in Operation Sindoor, the Pakistani Air Force attacked our air bases. What were we supposed to do? Dump it? Oh, Pakistan is a great threat to the United States, new found threat to the United States. We dare not attack them back. We must take it on the chin. Actually, don't talk crap. When nations are hit, they will hit back. That is precisely what we hit. Out of 12 major Pakistani air bases, we hit 11. 3 of them, as it so turned out, that is the Noor Khan Air Base. There was that deeply buried underground target facility, deeply buried $500 million underground command post, which was also the nuclear command post of Pakistan, we realized later. And what we did not realize was it was still being used by the United States 7 years after they had fled in a most disgraceful fashion from Afghanistan. However, we to know that contrary to what Imran Khan was saying, that I will not allow bases and military bases of Americans in Pakistan. The Americans never left Pakistan. They had a huge stake in the satellite communication, in the servers, computer servers. They had their personnel, we are told, in Noor Khan. Now, who the hell was to know that it was also part of their nuclear command and control structure? That possibly the Americans had put in some nukes, warheads into Kirana, into Chagai, so that these could be used against China and Russia. How the hell were we to dream of this? If they are in such cahoots, sir, what are you talking of about the defining partnership of the 21st century being India and America? Simple fact is that Donald Trump was, to use the colloquial expression, pissed off. He was extremely upset that India had hit by default, by mistake, or by whatever the American air bases, and India would have to be taught a lesson. So, 50% tariffs. So, drive it into the arms of the Russia, India, China trial. So, what I'm trying to say is that decades after the Cold War, if the America-Pakistan alliance is still alive and kicking, then what are we talking of about a India-US alliance to contain China? I mean, it makes nonsense. It makes no sense whatsoever. Were we being taken for a ride? Were we being sweet talked when a succession of American presidents told us that, you know, uh, India and the United States will be the defining partnership of the 21st century. We will create new supply chains. We will see that the manufacturing shifts from China to India, and India and China will be the democratic partnership that will be the defining partnership of the 21st century. Donald Trump has just thrown a bucket, like I said, of cold water in our face. He has given us a reality check. Like I said, Donald Trump has done his best to push India into a Russia, India, China tribe. May I remind Donald of the great practitioner of real politics in America, Henry Kissinger. He had said, and I quote, it should be settled maxim of American foreign policy never to take on more than one major Asian power at a time. May I remind Donald Trump at his cohorts that while major powers in Asia, Henry Kissinger met Russia, India, China. You understand? Maybe not necessarily in their dollar. This is what he was warning the United States against. Ladies and gentlemen, in international relations, there are no permanent friends. There are no permanent enemies. There are only permanent, enduring national interests which are supreme. There is a school of thought within the Indian diplomatic community that all is not lost. That India should still, try and make an effort to get around Donald Trump. How can I get a satisfied? Should we even try? I'm asking a very serious question. When we know what the score is, when Operation Sindoor has inadvertently opened our eyes to ground reality check with a 50% tariff slap in our face when we thought we were preferred parties. We were democrats, we were sister democracies with shared values, shared interests. I'm sorry, sir. We will be taken for your trust. Trust between these two democracies has perhaps been destroyed. There are a number of people who are still hoping against hope that Donald Trump is famous for Donald Trump chickened out again, or Donald Trump did a U-turn again. yet another U-turn, and suddenly 50% tariffs will be gone. It will be all honey and treacle and business as usual between our two sisters' divorce. I would like to believe. I'd like to believe. To say, and should we not be realists? The reality check has taken place. It is in your face. And if you still want to sucker up, well, you are doing it at the cost of national self-respect, national sovereignty, national pride. I don't think these values are negotiable. People want to still try, they are most impressive. I, for one, now am very pessimistic. We have been taken for a side. We have been stabbed into the back. So our trust that was built up over the last 30 years, sir, is destroyed. Jai Bharat, Jai Hind,